The return of Paul George and a revenge game against the Clippers. We're going to have to wait and see. The Philadelphia 76ers try to get their second win of the season.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Kayla Santiago alongside Keith Pompey here with you on game day as we get ready for the action between Philadelphia and the Clippers. We're going to touch on a lot here today, not only the matchup overall, but PG maybe trying to get a little bit revenge and have a big game in his second one of the regular season, and then what life is going to look like without Joel Embiid and what the Sixers team really needs going forward in these next few games. Before we get to that, today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And your favorite podcast now has a newsletter introducing Locked On 76ers daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. So, Keith, we're going to wait and see if the Philadelphia 76ers can get their second win. It's crazy we're saying that. That really sounds so sad with how many games they've already played so far. But you're looking at this matchup right now. Going into it, what are the keys for you to this game for the Philadelphia 76ers to try to come out with a victory on the road?
I mean, I think for them to get a victory on the road is going to, I think Paul's going to have to play out of his mind. I mean, he's going to have one of those games where y'all didn't pay me. Like, remember how Jimmy Butler said you took Tobias
over me? Yeah.
So he's going to have y'all didn't play me, one of those. So, I mean, I think that, like, as we kind of talked about yesterday, I think that he has to become more of a alpha dog. And I think he is. I don't think he is. He is a guy. He's the man. But that was the first game that he played. And I believe that he has to exert himself in order for them to have a chance of winning. I really do. He has to exert himself in order for them to have a chance of winning tonight. Because, if he does that, it's just going to free Maxey up to get more shots. Right. It's going to free other teammates up to get shots. So I look at it as if that, it all starts with Paul. He has to be more aggressive.
And I want to see, too, just better decision-making. And I'm not even only talking about Paul George, but also Tyrese Maxiell. You mentioned it opening up things for Tyrese Maxiell. And don't get me wrong, when Maxiell is hot from beyond the arc, yes, he should take those shots. But also maybe seeing if you can get PG a little bit more involved in this game. And we kind of touched on that after the Suns contest. It was the first regular season game with them two together. They're so clearly trying to work on chemistry. So it's going to be something that they're looking to approach here coming in. And I'm looking forward to not only seeing Kelly Oubre, Kayla Martin kind of going back to that role that we saw him against the Suns. That's something that's really stuck out to me because now Paul George gives him an opportunity to really go back within that role. Now, once again, all these guys are going to look totally different when Joel Embiid is on the floor, but the fact that Kayla Martin doesn't really have to be that point forward and there's not a lot of pressure on him and Paul George can kind of help that out, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now, we're going to kind of go back and forth in these first two segments with previewing this game and, of course, Paul George trying to get some revenge, the return a little bit too. But are you worried at all? And I don't know if worried is even the word we want to use, but Paul George clearly is going to have a little bit on his mind going into this game. Is he going to try to be too aggressive? Is he going to make it all about himself? Do you think that could hurt the 76ers here tonight? Or do you see it kind of happening, Paul George still trying to get his feet wet and more Tyrese Maxiell kind of pushing that curve and involving PG? Where do you see this going? Because people can say it doesn't matter, but sometimes those emotions are on the line a little bit.
I think it's a little different with him. I guess this is the first time that a team really didn't want to pay him, right? Yeah. But this isn't going to be his first trip going back to an arena for the first time, right? I mean, a place that he played before, rather.
Right.
We go back. When he went to Indiana, he goes back to OKC. So now he can take from those two things. But I'll just tell you what he said at shoot around today. He said in the beginning, it will be a selfish part, saying hi to everyone, kind of, taking myself away from the competitive side. He says, he said that's what he's going to try to do, right? And then he says, kind of enjoying seeing people I spent a lot of time with here. But then after that, just roll the ball out, throw the ball up in the air. It's go time. It's kind of shift the focus to what is now, the present, and that's being a Philadelphia 76er. So I feel like, yes, he knows, what they did, but he's 34 years old. He's been in the league for a while. I feel like, he's going to be nice. And I feel like he's going to try to be, quote unquote, a silent assassin, like some smiling in your face. But next thing you know, I'm trying to, give you 30 towards the end.
I don't know. I might have to disagree with you there. And the quote's fantastic, but I just think everybody can say it doesn't matter, right? But when you go into this, all the drama that the Philadelphia 76ers have already had leading up to this point, Paul George is just looking forward to going out there to play some basketball. And this is the first time this season, not only can he play on the court for his second game in a row, but this means a little bit more than just playing against the Suns. Now, he's a vet in this league. He's been here before, but when you bring that mindset coming into a game like this, you say, okay, I've been a little bit banged up. Now I'm going into my second game. I took the last shot with the Suns. It didn't work out. But now I can use that motivating factor to turn it up a little bit. For me, I just hope that doesn't mean that he's going to take over the game in a negative way. And by saying that, you still got Tyrese Maxiell on the floor. You still got other guys that you're trying to get chemistry with, Kelly Oubre, Caleb Martin, your guys down low too. I liked kind of that game with him and Yabusele in last game against the Suns. I don't know. Maybe it's just because there's a lot of different storylines in this game. You look at James Harden too on the other side, but I think PG in this situation might say, all right, I'm going to come out firing. This game means a little bit more to me. And it'd be great if he does. You guys didn't pay me after Jimmy did Tobias over me, but I'm looking forward to it. I think there's a lot of storylines going into this game. I think there's not necessarily a lot riding on it, but if you're able to win this contest, I think it could be big for the Philadelphia 76ers. And I say that because I really don't think that they're going to come out on top against the Lakers without Joel Embiid. And then you look even further down the line to that Knicks game a few games away, Cat being in there, no Joel Embiid, I think that's also a loss. So, Keith, this could be a good way to try to sneak in a win before you face two teams. Now, that's not the next two games, but before you face those two teams that have really talented bigs without Joel Embiid.
Yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but what I'm saying is I understand that. I totally understand that. But I feel like if you're 34 years old and you come out there and you let the emotions get the best of you, again, you can go out there and play. But if you try to let the emotions get the best of you too much, sometimes that can backfire. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those, you got to stay locked in. You got to stay, on the game plan, the whole nine. It's just that I see so many times where you got these young guys like getting the dunk, yelling, punting their chest. You shouldn't have traded me. And then in the fourth quarter, they're like, oh man, I exerted too much energy. So I just feel like, yes, he's going to do that. He's going to be fired up. But I feel like he's going to be going through the flow of the game and doing stuff and then trying to do the, hit him with the hammer shot, hopefully, or whatever in the second half.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, you look at it, and Paul George really is just trying to find his place with this team on offense and defensively. And clearly, we keep saying that you're never going to be able to really see this unit until it's with Joel Embiid. But what I will say is you do see a good portion of it, right? Obviously, the game is going to change when Joel comes back in, but you're finally seeing, okay, Caleb Martin being able to move a little bit to the part where he's supposed to be, and then Tyrese Maxiell and Paul George working together and trying to get those things figured out. So we're going to wait and see. How will PG come into this game? Let us know what you guys think in the comments. Will it be going in, being aggressive, getting all hyped up, or will he be calm, cool, and collective? He's a vet at this point. He knows what he's doing. So either way, maybe he's going to try to get some real estate in the Clippers' head and maybe do a little bit of a Uno reverse card and try to get in the head of James Harden and the rest of the team. Nevertheless, it's just good to see him out there. And we're looking forward to this contest tonight. So we're going to break even more things down in just a moment here. More on Paul George. Not only that, also, what is this just going to look like without Joel Embiid for the next 3 games? How will the Sixers find that identity? And what pieces really need to figure out how they fit into this team, because right now, at the end of the day, we're all excited for Paul George and Joel. They've got one win on the season, and that is the fact of the matter. So we'll talk about that in just a moment. And your sex life is important, but your schedule is busy. You don't have the time to go to a doctor's office to get treated for ED. Through HIMS, you can get a personalized ED treatment without stepping foot outside your door. The process is 100% online, so there's no need for uncomfortable doctor's visits. Just answer a series of questions on their site, and a medical provider will determine the right treatment option for you. If prescribed, your medication ships directly to you in discreet packaging for free. No insurance is needed, and very low prices covers everything from treatments to ongoing care. With hundreds of thousands of trusted subscribers, HIMS can help you find the ED option that works for you. Make sure you go check this out today. Start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS today at hims.com/lockedon. Make sure you go check it out today. All right, so a little bit more on Paul George here, going also to the other superstar in Joel Embiid. And I not only want to look at Paul George in this game, but also just going forward. Where do you see his ceiling in this game? Keith, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Paul George, what numbers do you think that he's getting tonight? How do you think he's going to end up in this game compared to what he was able to do against the Suns just a few days ago?
Well, that's a good question. I want to say, I would say at least 25 points tonight. I think that the more so the motivation of, I mean, don't get me wrong, he's going to be motivated to play the Clippers, right?
Right.
But more so than that, I think that the fact that he missed that shot, he made the mistake of taking a 2 instead of a 3. The fact that he had 6 turnovers, and the fact that he only made 4 of 14 shots is more motivation. I mean, just as much motivation is going back, because let's face it, he plays at a high standard. So with that being said, I would say anywhere from 25 to 30 in that range, just because he wants to put on a show. So yeah, I think that we'll see kind of sort of like the Paul George we saw in that second quarter against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the first preseason game he played.
I'm going to go 33 points for Paul George here tonight, and I think this is just going to be the Paul George show. I think Tyrese Maxiell, I should say, is still going to go out and have his game, but I think that Paul George, this is kind of a statement game for him. And it's not all just about, returning to a team you used to be on, but also completely agree with you there, where last game he had that shot and it didn't work out for him. And I think that he is mindful enough where he needs to make those decisions a little bit better at the end of the game. But he also probably knows that the angle wasn't the best. There was a defender right in his face, and it just wasn't a great shot to take. Now I think he's going to try to turn that accuracy up a little bit, keep on going. You can't really figure that stuff out until you're in game time decisions. And that's what happened. He talked about it after the fact. And now you look at it and see if it will be able to work going forward. So I'm looking forward to Paul George tonight. I think he's going to go out there. I'm saying it's the Paul George show, and he's going to have 33 points tonight. Speaking of PG, of course, his counterpart, his co-star here this evening is going to be Tyrese Maxiell. Do you think Tyrese Maxiell has a better game than PG on the line tonight?
I don't. I think that Tyrese Maxiell is going to have a similar game than PG. I'm starting it once PG and especially Embiid come back. I think Maxey is going to have great games, but I think they're going to be different games. And the reason why I'm saying similar to him, Maxey may have a lot of points. He may do things. But Paul George is going to have more rebounds. He's going to have more assists. He's going to have more steals. He's not going to give up as many baskets on the other end. But I think offensively, Maxey could have a good time. Now, the only problem that I have with that is I think that when you have guys like Norman Powell, you have, other dudes who are pretty good defenders. And I know this team has been struggling, but I think that their length may give Maxey a little problem at times, right? But I do think that he's going to have a quality game just because Paul George is going to take a lot of the pressure off of him and allow him to roam around and do certain things.
Now, last question for you here regarding this topic. Who is going to defend James Harden here tonight? Who is going to be out on the Mr. I'm going to step back and a gather step and shoot it and try to go at everybody in Philadelphia? I have a prediction too tonight before your answer really quick. I think we're going to see some point in this game where it's James Harden doing the step back and then Tyrese Maxiell doing the step back. We all know that Tyrese learned a lot from James Harden during his time with Philadelphia. That was one of the positive things about James coming to the city of brotherly love. So I think we might see a little bit of back and forth when it comes to that. But who do you want to see out there defending James here tonight?
It's weird. And like, depending, like right now, James is the head of the snake.
Yeah.
So initially, this is how I would try to do it. And it may sound kind of crazy. But for initially, I would put Caleb Martin on initially. And the reason being is because if you're guarding somebody like that, it's going to, your focus is being a quality defender, right? And then at times, if he can't do something, then even throughout the game, I think we're going to I'll put Paul on him, right? That's what's going to happen. But, the thing about James, and, James is a future Hall of Famer, but he lost a step, right? For the most part, he lost a step. So, you'll put Paul on him. But I think what I would do is I would try to show him a lot of different looks, a lot of different coverages, and run different bodies on him. Now, if that doesn't work, you got to snap that and you got to put Paul on him. But I know what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to get that matchup that you want, and they're going to try to switch on to Maxey, and he's going to try to remember I taught you this, but I can do it better. That's what's going to happen. He's going to try to do that.
I don't want to see that, and that's no disrespect to Tyrese Maxiell at all. It's zero disrespect to Tyrese Maxiell. Honestly, I want to see James Harden go out there and try to go for 35 tonight and see how Paul George can defend him, because something else that we have touched on a ton, even dating back to training camp, was Paul George is this really good defender, a really good two-way player in the league, and he's going to be a reason why on defense this whole unit is being able to elevate. So I want to see Paul George more on the defensive side of the ball too, not just on the offensive. We know what he can do, but anytime the Philadelphia 76ers have had a star come in, the defense has been mediocre. And it's kind of recency bias there when you look at James Harden coming in, right? Not going after anything, not being a good defender. Now, Ben Simmons was quite the opposite, and he was a pretty decent defender, a pretty good one at that, but his offensive game, we can totally forget about because it didn't help the Philadelphia 76ers at all. So I want to see Paul George on him. Now, I'm sure Nick Nurse is going to switch throughout this game, 4 quarters. It's a lot of basketball to play. It's not just going to be PG on James Harden all night long, but I do not want to see Tyrese Maxiell on James Harden to open up this game. And it's no disrespect to Tyrese, but I just think that's a better matchup suited defensively for Paul George with James Harden offensively on the other side.
Yeah, it is. It is. But the only reason why, that's what we're probably going to see. But the only reason why I would start off with Martin is just because, that's a full-time job. And you want Paul to be able to run the offense, do other things, and then you step up and you bring him on a little bit. Because that's kind of sort of like what happened, the first game. Like, I thought that Paul George was going to be on Devin Booker. I thought that he was going to be on Kevin Durant. He was on Bradley Beal early on. You know what I mean? Honestly, he was on Bradley Beal.
That's true.
But then as the game progressed, he started getting on the other guys. So that's the only reason why I'm saying that, just by basing off of what I felt like Nick Nurse tried to do.
We're going to wait and see, but if Tyrese Maxiell starts getting cooked, they immediately need to switch it. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, I don't think they'll ever have him. But what's going to happen is what the Clippers are going to try to do is the Clippers are going to keep trying to switch him. If you notice, this is what KD kept doing to Maxey. He would go over to Maxey, he would pick him, move him, and then next thing you know, move, and then all of a sudden the other guy had to switch, and it's like he just shooting jumpers over Maxey. So they were even set shots. They weren't even jumpers. Yeah.
And once again, it's no disrespect to Tyrese. It's not saying that he's a bad defender, but Paul George is known for his two-way ability. Yeah. We'll see if Caleb Martin starts out on him a little bit. we're going to wait and see. This is probably the game I'm most looking forward to on the season right now. When the Sixers play other teams later on with Joel Embiid, that'll definitely change my opinion on that. But right now, I'm just excited for the storylines of this game. I feel like it's a more even matchup for the Sixers, definitely than the Suns was. And that was a back and forth game. And I also think it's way more even than taking on the Lakers in your next contest, because you do not have Joel Embiid and the Lakers have such a big presence down low. But we're going to talk about the absence of the big fella, how that affects this team, how it will affect them going forward, and who really needs to step up in his absence in just a moment. And Build is breaking ground as neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month, you pay your rent and watch the bills points roll in. Use points to jet off on a dream vacation. Put your points towards a flight or hotel stay with 500 plus airlines and 700,000 plus hotels and properties. You can also use your points to book a fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're designated and designed to meet your needs as well. Earn points by paying rent right now when you go to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonnba. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Joinbuilt.com/lockedonnba to start earning points with your rent payments today. And we have to talk about Game Time as well, and what really good deals you can get right now. You are not going to want to miss out on getting these Game Time deals whatsoever. So we've already touched on one Philadelphia team throughout this podcast, and the Philadelphia 76ers. But also, we got to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles as they take on the Baltimore Ravens on December 1st. That's going to be a really good game. You got Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. It's going to be a fun one. And if you want to get the best deals, make sure you go to Game Time right now. They've got a super deal going on at $36 off for this contest. Lower level, 152, row 39. Make sure you take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, use LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today, because what time is it? It is game time. And it will be a bit before we actually see Joel Embiid in the game with the Philadelphia 76ers. So right now, you could say Joel Embiid has struggled to get back with the injury, going off all that, and then the suspension comes in as well. So how will life look without Joel Embiid? It's not going to look too pretty in two games in particular. You look at the game against the Lakers and the game against the New York Knicks. And for me, it's obviously working down low as the rim protector. You have nobody that can really go in against Cat or Anthony Davis. And it's not going to be Drummond, and it's not going to be Abu either. So when I look at it right now, I'm not saying that the Clippers game is a must win, because I don't think there's any must win games this early on in the season, but it could be a huge win, because life without Embiid, you know that it's not going to be an easy road for you, especially against two teams that have very decorated bigs.
Yeah, that's true. But the one thing is he'll definitely play against that team against the Knicks. The game against the Knicks.
Right, the suspension will be about
you. Yeah, he'll be back. And the crazy part about it is, like, he has to play against that game, because then next, the league's gonna look at it like, hey,
yeah, what are you gonna do? Right.
What are you doing? You said he was healthy. Now all of a sudden you're not playing. So the thing is, though, we look at tonight's game, we look at the game against the Lakers, and that's going to be a tough one with Cat. But we also look at the Orlando game, where you look at Orlando, and they're a pretty good team as well, right? They have some injuries. But, I kind of feel like we have clarity on what's going on with Joel. So even though the team is going to struggle, we have clarity. And with that, I'm kind of excited about that a little bit, because like, definitely he's coming back against the Knicks. Definitely he's going to be over the injuries. You can incorporate other guys in for right now, but he's going to come back. But you are correct. They are going to struggle. The problem is, though, with that, like I said, the pluses, the minuses are that, hey, we're going up against real teams. Not to say that the other teams weren't, but they were playing like the bottom of the barrel teams. Now, right now, this is a key stretch. You would love to have Joel Embiid back, but you don't. But now you're going to know that the team is going to lose. But what it's going to do is it's going to force Paul George to be that alpha dog. Not saying that he's not, but typically when you come into a new team, you want to be able to coexist. You don't want to take charge from the start. But
Right.
against tonight, against the Lakers, and against Charlotte, Charlotte, we talked about Orlando before I was wrong. Against Charlotte, you're going to have to go out there and just be in destroy mode. You're going to have to. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing while Joel's not around.
And it's interesting. I think I keep skipping that Charlotte game accidentally because I'm looking at the battle of the bigs, the Lakers and the Knicks. So you're right. So Joel will be suspended for the Suns game, which is already past the Clippers. We're checking out the Clippers, Lakers, Hornets, and then looks to be back for the New York Knicks. Now, we have touched on this a little bit, and we touched on it yesterday. The NBA is going to be after Joel Embiid if, for whatever reason, after this suspension, they say he is not ready to come back because he was rumored to be coming back throughout this road trip and being able to rejoin the team. Is there any hesitation from Nick Nurse to have his first game be against Karl Anthony Towns and the New York Knicks? Any hesitation whatsoever, or do they know what's coming from the NBA if that were to be their decision?
They know what's coming from the NBA, but also it's about time to start winning games.
Yeah.
And you got to throw people out there. Joel, he missed what? He's been sidelined for weeks. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be practicing. He's going to be doing rev up stuff. If he's not ready by then, he's not going to be ready. And you got to play. You know what? Joel's making $51 million this year. Time to play, bro. We can't sit back and relax. So I don't think it can't be any hesitation. Now, maybe earlier on or something like that, yeah. But at this particular point, because let's face it, they legitimately could lose 2 of the next 3 games, right?
Yeah.
So so what are they going to be? They're going to be at that point. They would be 2-6. Joel has to play. He has to play.
And I think, tonight could be a statement game for Paul George. You mentioned him kind of having to be the alpha in these next few games. If they can win tonight, I don't mind them dropping against the Lakers without Joel. I kind of expect that. And I do think that they can pull it out against the Hornets at home. You set Joel Embiid up in a really good situation coming back and saying, listen, we've been able to go out on that West Coast trip. We competed against the Suns. That was Paul George's first game back, so we're still getting used to that chemistry. We went out there against the Clippers. The Lakers didn't go our way, but we won against the Hornets. So now you're saying, okay, yeah, the Knicks is going to be a tough team, but at the end of the day, you look at the rest of your schedule, and it doesn't get much easier. The Cavs are red hot right now, and you take on the Cavs right after you take on the Knicks as well. Now, that's a back-to-back. So the conversation begins of looking ahead here, Keith, do you see Paul George playing when Joel comes back? Is that a must-need? Because there's been conversation of Joel and Paul George not playing back-to-backs. You can't sit them both out against the Cavs, right?
No, I don't think you can. That's going to be a tough one. Yeah, when you think about it, that's a tough one. I think you want to hope and see what George can do, because if you sit them both out against the Cavs, that's definitely a loss. I don't really expect Joel to play in that game unless they want to just go against the grain, meaning by going against the grain, it's like, one of those things like saying, oh, Joel said he wasn't going to play on back-to-backs, so we're going to have him play in this one just so you guys will stop stop wondering what's going on or thinking that you have an idea. But nah, you can't rest both of them. I don't think so. You can. The good part is after that game, they'll have a couple of days off before they play again, right? So, but you can't rest them. No, you can't rest them. No.
Yeah, and this is really looking ahead. So you have the Magic 2 days later, and then that's on that Friday, November 15th, and then you don't play again until Monday, November 18th. So you have the 2 days on the weekend to really rest up too. My thoughts on this is that if Joel is back against the Knicks, even though it's a back-to-back, Paul George has to play in that game. It has been all season long waiting for this fantastic trio to come together. And I get it. It's a tough back-to-back, and it's Paul George right now is going to have some big minutes in these games, especially on this West Coast trip. I understand that. But when Joel Embiid is back, Tyrese Maxiell and Paul George have to be out there, and I don't care what comes after that. Not saying I don't care what happens with the season, but that's for Nick Nurse to figure out, okay, do you sit PG and play Joel? Do you sit Joel and play PG for that next game? And then you figure it out from there, because it has been way too long. This team has zero chemistry right now with the big fella. You have to have them all out there on the court if Joel's going to come back. PG just can't sit in that game.
Yeah, I agree.
We're looking far ahead, but we'll take a look once again at the game of the night tonight. It's the Clippers and the Philadelphia 76ers. Keith, before we send things off, who you think will come out on top tonight in a score prediction?
I think the Clippers will probably win. I think a score prediction will probably be, I want to go 112 to 109.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I'm going to have faith. All right. I'm going to have some belief in the Philadelphia 76ers. It might be for the first time this season. I'm going to take Philly. I'm going to have a Paul George revenge game. We're probably going to get a really fun quote from PG like we did with Jimmy Butler, just on the other side of things of Tobias over me. I'm going to take Philadelphia 76ers here tonight. Paul George, I'm going to look at him having 33 points in this contest. I'm going to go 110 to 106 in favor of Philadelphia. Let us know what you guys think in the comments of who you think will come out on top in this game. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers. For Keith Pompey, I'm Kayla Santiago saying so long, Sixers. Back in action tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Time.